It's taking a second. All right. Dirty Sports episode 896 live on YouTube in 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Palm Springs, California, Joey Noche-Prano.
Hello, Andrew.
Happy post-Christmas.
Happy Boxing Day.
Is that a Canadian thing?
Yeah.
Canadians got some weird holidays.
Yeah. Happy Boxing Day, everybody.
That doesn't have anything to do with the actual sport, correct?
No. And I don't even know if it has anything to do with getting rid of your boxes from yesterday. We talked about it on the Goose Comedy a few times with my former hook of Canadian co-hosting.
It has nothing to do with the boxer breed of dog, I assume, either. Right?
It does not.
Okay.
It does not.
All right. Well, yeah, here we are, post-Christmas. I mean, I'll be honest with the Dirtballs. You know, I wanted another day off. Not that this is we're not laying bricks here. I understand that, but you know, it would have been nice to just ease into the quote unquote work schedule.
So, Andy, as I always say, we owe the Dirtballs nothing. We give them everything. I don't know why that wasn't a message that was sent my way. I would have been like, yeah, let's do it tomorrow. You know me, I'm easy. I'd been like, I'll take another day off.
Well, I also know there's so much. You can't do it at this point of the football season. There's just so much to talk about.
Yeah, it would be if we had different picks on tonight's Monday Night Football game, I might have said let's push it to tomorrow so that we could see who's going into week 16 with the lead.
No more of this going against my gut. That's all I'm going to say about that. If I have major issues and ran about Zach Wilson for 2 straight minutes and then pick the Jets, I'm clearly not listening to my own self. So no more like, fuck it, the Broncos. And I'm not making excuses. I buried my own grave right now to be tied with you.
I would say for starters, since those are the two that you brought up, just and this is a free gift for you from me for the last 2 weeks of the season. Stop picking bottom 3 in the league quarterbacks named Wilson. Stop picking guys who arguably should not be in the NFL named Wilson.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we can start there. But for the record, let's go back to that Jets game. I would say that Thursday night game for me, just as a viewer, was one of the just oddest games between how poorly they played offensively and the crowd just, have you ever seen a guy hated who was just drafted? That's why it's important. Like, you're a New York guy. You understand how the New York crowd can be. But dude, he was just drafted. It's done, Joe. He's done. His days playing for the Jets, there's no returning already.
And the Zach Wilson story is Zach Wilson. There's really, he's very much a guy who showed no NFL ability in college. It was totally this like pro day boner and this whatever. And to be fair, obviously, Trevor Lawrence went 1, and you've got to pick. You need a quarter. Like, they would have loved to be able to pick Trevor Lawrence. Of course, I think Adam Gase, had a 2-game win streak or something like that at the end of the season to move them out of that spot because the Jets are the Jets. But, I tweeted it, and I actually believe it. If Sam Darnold were the Jets quarterback, they'd be the 5 seed. Like, the Jets have a good enough defense and a good enough game plan that they really don't need somebody who's anything more than just competent.
Sure.
And Zach Wilson is incompetent. I mean, we're not looking at guys who in the last few years became good quarterbacks after struggling in their rookie year. We're looking at a guy who can't complete a screen pass. We're looking at a guy who's throwing the ball, 5-6 yards left, right, short, and over guys who are open. Like, he's just straight up bad.
Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. He's just bad. And like you said,
Seems overmatched, again, and I've talked about the shitty school quarterback, but I always love the shitty school quarterback that has to play the top programs and deal with the, like play in the SEC, but not on the great team. So you're dealing with edge rushers you're going to be facing in the league. You're dealing with crazy, good defensive schemes. Like, what are you doing in the Mountain West or the WAC or wherever? And God knows that BYU plays football.
Well, that's the thing.
In a very non-defensive conference, always been. I mean, Steve Young's the single BYU quarterback that ever worked out, despite having tons of them through the years who were like, look at this guy's statistics.
Yeah. But the thing about Zach Wilson, which is really interesting, he played 3 years. He only really had one great year. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. For me, and I could be wrong, I would love actually to see the numbers on this. Guys who've had like one really good year, I don't know how often they turn out. Like, even Burrow. Okay, so Burrow had a record-breaking year. The year before that, he was pretty good. Like, he wasn't terrible. He wasn't great. My point is, Zach Wilson, pull up his numbers, man. 12 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns, 33 touchdowns.
Yeah.
My point is 1,500 yards, 2,300 yards, about 3,700 yards. It's like he didn't put up insane numbers. And I know some of these guys don't. Like Justin Herbert, I don't have his numbers on top of my head. I know Justin Herbert was a big upside type of guy, which I guess is what they were saying Zach Wilson would be. But the Jets, dude, sometimes
but sometimes just the eye test on the base level alone is where you got to start. Justin Herbert is
that
bigger, stronger, more of an arm, like everything. Like the eye test alone. If you were casting a movie and you were like, we need a hot up and coming fucking quarterback, you would cast Justin Herbert. You'd cast Zach Wilson as the douche rival quarterback from the other school whose team doesn't let black kids play. Like, you'd cast him as the villain.
Sure. But on some of those throws, right, particularly that last game against the Jags, he's just chucking it. And I know the announcers even said that. He's going back there and he's saying, I'm going to roll to my right. I'm going to chuck it across field. I hope somebody catches it. Just chucking it like backyard football. They gave up 19 points. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like the D. Now, the D didn't play their best game. But if I asked you for any team,
the D didn't play their best game, but they gave up one touchdown.
That's what I'm saying.
They give up. I mean, you have a offense / quarterback problem if your team's giving up one touchdown, and you're also kind of getting blown out.
There's not kind of. They were never in that game ever.
Right.
The crowd went absolutely nuts when they yanked him. It's done, and I don't know where he goes. Like, this is such a quick downfall. And it's funny that you brought up, and obviously we'll get to Russell Wilson. Like, the two Wilsons, I've never seen where you're like, I don't know where this guy goes. Like you said, normally you're like, hey, there's some shades of you could be something.
Zach Wilson's like, I'm easily the worst quarterback in the NFL. And Russell Wilson was like, hold my non-alcoholic red wine that I drink at church with communion.
I don't know what to make of the Russell Wilson thing because, well, I can make a few things. One is I firmly believe he's not that bad. He just can't be. There's no way. I understand the system that he had in Seattle, the coach, the running game, the defense when he started his career. But there's no, like, he is now to the point of, I think I saw a lot of tweets about this. It's literally like Russell Wilson forgot how to play football. It's that bad. Just throwing the ball right to guys.
I mean, I think the fact of the matter with Russell Wilson is he's a pretty middle of the road quarterback, like from every standpoint. And he was in a situation with a great
Joe,
coach.
He's not
No,
playing.
but
he's
I'm
playing
saying,
next level bad. He's not
right. But this is the situation is everybody who thought Russell Wilson was great was conned by him having a great coach and a good team and a situation that elevates what he does well. And so everybody got unrealistic visions of what he actually was. And now he wasn't just put on a middle of the road team and we could see middle of the road Russ. He was put on a bad team with a bad coach. Although I would argue that they're not even that, like, I mean, the last couple of years, they weren't bad football teams, but he obviously has a bad coach who's now since been fired. Injuries, lack of weapons, whatever. But that's the difference. And, sort of exactly what I've always been saying. It's like, this isn't, and nor never was an elite quarterback that elevates his team around him. He never did it. If you think he did it, you were wrong. He just didn't. If anything, he was elevated by the team around him. And now we're seeing what's happened when he doesn't have a coaching staff and doesn't have a scheme that's built around covering up his flaws. He's atrocious. And they fired the coach because they can't fire the quarterback because they're already paying him.
But like I said, I mean, even if we say, okay, let's say he was middle of the road. He's like, he can't even complete a pass is what I'm saying. Like, it's so bad that you're like, this guy, does he realize those guys aren't on his team? Like, when you watch it, again, I've never seen anything like this.
I mean, I tweeted it yesterday. Watching Russell Wilson, Jesus freak Russell Wilson play football on Christmas Day like that. How does one believe that there's a God? This guy spends his whole day giving glory to God. They're like, and on Jesus' birthday, you shall shine, to the tune of 3 picks and getting fucking blown out by a team that's already been eliminated from the playoffs. What about 50 burger on you?
So I was reading a lot of the tweets from where is it? Sorry, I'm trying to pull this up. From Jeff Schwartz, your former Giants player. You follow him, right?
Yep.
And he's always breaking down the Russell situation, or breaking down everything. He's on Sirius XM, and I thought, and people were trying to argue with him on this, but I think he's right. So they cut to this video. Russ is talking to his O lineman. They're down 34-6 at the time. He's talking to his O lineman. He's holding the football right by his mouth. And they're right next to him. And Jeff Schwartz thinks and I think he's right. And people were arguing with him, but I disagree with all those people. I think Schwartz is right. He says, I know I'm picking on Wilson, but this explains so much. He's worried about the cameras when they are down 34-6 and his linemen are yelling at him. Just be normal, dude. Sit down and chat. Scream back. Do something other than hide your mouth because the cameras might be around. I think he's right. This is how out of touch, tone deaf, whatever you want to use, Russell Wilson is. He's so worried about his fucking image. Dude, play football. Why are you covering up what somebody might hear or see? He cares. I've never seen a guy care so much about his image that plays quarterback ever.
He I've used the phrase a lot, and we'll talk more about the Vikings later. But the word fraudulent comes up a lot this time this year. A lot this time of year as you're determining what teams are for real and what teams are frauds. But Russell Wilson is the definition of a fraud. He is the walking, talking poster child of fraudulence because he was fraudulent the whole time. And then he bought into his fraudulence and thought he was a star and was demanding the let Russ cook and the whole thing. And then he gets his money and he gets his new team. And then he's fraudulenting his image all off season. And then he's fraudulent in his play on when a team isn't built solely to cover his fraudulence. He is the walking definition of fraud. And from a play standpoint, from a personality standpoint, from a way he treats his teammates standpoint, from a relationship with his coach standpoint, it's the epitome of fraudulent. And in the NFL, especially, nothing is going to make the guys who are going out there and blocking for you hate you more than you being fraudulent in the face. When all you have to do is just be fucking like, guys, what the fuck are we doing here? But he's just doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on his fraudulence.
I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say, and this people might think I'm crazy. I think he's mentally ill. Like there's something wrong with him mentally to continue to do that behavior. There's something like, dude, when you're so out of touch of what everyone is seeing and you can't see it right in front of your face, you have something wrong with you mentally.
Yeah, but you know what? It's as simple as this. And I don't care that I was a man on an island with a fucking, a torch screaming the opposite. But Russ believed everything everybody said about him. He's great. His deep ball. He wins every game. You get Russell Wilson, you win 10 games. Blah, blah. People screamed it at the top of their lungs for years and years and years, and he believed it. They did though. That's the thing though. Here's the thing. Here's where to me it's like really interesting.
He did have a nice deep ball. He had a great deep ball. I'm talking guys are blanketing the receivers. He knew how to find them. He did always win 10 games. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, but it turns out it didn't have anything to do with Russell Wilson because the Seahawks are going to win 9 games and now the Broncos are going to win 4.
But see, this is what I think. I think, again, I've said this all. I think it's somewhere in between. I think he's somewhere in. I think at its core.
Right. He is somewhere in between. He's a middle of the road, 17th best quarterback in football.
I think we'll see. Like, I don't know. Like, obviously he's gonna be their quarterback next year, and I'll be curious. I'm really curious how this plays out. But like I said, I think he's got something mentally. His mental state is so lost. He has the worst team around him. I've never seen a team because he doesn't have friends. This is what's obvious. People who don't have true friends, a buddy to pull them aside, a family member to pull them aside. This is what happens. Sometimes you have to just keep it real with somebody, right? No one's keeping it real with him. And here's what I think. And I think his wife.
Guys were keeping it real with him. And they chose Russell Wilson over them in Seattle. And that is how we got here.
To me, it's almost like he surrounded himself in some sort of Scientology cult, including Ciara. Because she's all in on this. And obviously she's a pop star. And it's like, I almost feel like he brainwashed her.
He's not smart enough to brainwash anybody.
The whole thing is nuts. Like when I watch him play, you're like, what is this? That game was over in the first quarter against Baker Mayfield. And both Wilsons have something in common, to bring it back to the both Wilsons. When you've lost your teammates, God damn it, Roscoe. I'm going to have to let him out. I don't know what's going on. I hate to do this. He just keeps looking at me. Maybe I shouldn't have given him turkey bacon. When you've lost your teammates, You can't return from that. Like Zach Wilson lost that entire team. They hate him. Russell Wilson's already lost this entire team. And clearly everybody else hated him in Seattle. Like, people don't like you, bro.
What else do they have in common? They're Jesus freak dipshits.
If you can't look at yourself and say, hey, man, why do people not like me? There's no accountability. They should start their own buddy comedy.
Yeah.
Their own little sitcom. Although that'd be the most boring, uninteresting sitcom ever. Wilson and Wilson. I mean, what would the premise even be?
I don't know. Them taking a road trip to Jerusalem to try to get back to their fucking to find their Lord and Savior, to see if he can give them their magical football powers again.
Yeah, but Zach Wilson's Mormon, so he's not going to Jerusalem.
I mean, they still believe they're Jesus Christ people, aren't they?
Yeah, but I don't fully really understand it. Is this gonna be awful if I have to pop out for a minute? I know we're live on YouTube.
No, I mean, what is pop out for him? What are you gonna do? Just let Roscoe where?
Well, I gotta let him out, but then I gotta let him in because the ground's covered in snow. So then I gotta I can't just let him in the backyard because it's too cold. This is a disaster. He's never done this, bro. What's going on? He's just staring at me. What did Vince do when he had to go out?
I mean, yeah, he go by the door more.
Rock was just staring at me. You know what's crazy? He understands when I say potty. You want to go potty?
Is he reacting to that?
Yeah. All right. YouTube crowd, hold tight. I don't know what you want to do, Joe. If you just want to pause it too, say we're taking a break.
I mean, what else is there to talk? What is there anything you want me to talk about while you're gone? You don't want?
Well, I want to be. I'd love to be a part of all this.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to play? How about this? How about this? I don't know if I can play a call.
Yeah.
I want to play a call, an NBA call about the scoring title.
Okay.
I bet you have a good input on this, like how they define the scoring title.
Great.
And then I'll pop back in. This is my life now. A fucking dog is making me stop the show. Okay. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hey, Joe and Andy, it's Mark. I had a question about the NBA. I saw some people talking about how they think the scoring title should be based off of total points scored that season and not the points per game with a limit or a minimum games like we have now. I thought it was interesting because in other sports, like in the NFL, we don't do that with quarterbacks. It's just who threw for the most yards. We don't do yards per game or yards per attempt. So, yeah, that's it, really. I want to see what you think. Later.
Well, essentially, thanks for the call, first of all. Essentially, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if for a lot of seasons in the NBA, it was both. But the simplest answer to that is, it's so many games. In the NFL, a 17-game season, it's far easier to track and how many people throw for how many yards. But also, we don't really talk about it. There's probably NBA fans who can name the last 10 scoring titles, or baseball fans who can name the last 10 batting titles in a division. But the NFL, no one's going, oh, this guy won the most passing yards, and this guy the most rushing titles, I guess, which again is total yards. But in baseball, obviously they do batting average because it's a long season. So you're not doing the most hits because some guys get more at bats than other guys. Some guys play more games than other guys. So I think the idea that in the NBA, it's a points per game, rebounds per game, blocks per game. I don't know. To me, it feels like it makes more sense. Now, that being said, I'm probably fans of the guys who would benefit from it being total points. I have a feeling LeBron James would be regarded higher as a scorer if we were talking about total points in a season, obviously total points in a career. We're looking at a LeBron James who will have the most points ever on a higher shooting percentage than a lot of the guys that he has passed. Obviously, he won't have a higher shooting percentage than Kareem, who is played on the block, but we're gonna have a guy who has the most points ever and did it in a more on less shots per game on a more in a more efficient way, and you would go, oh, he's the best scorer ever, and he won't be regarded as the best scorer ever. People will always say Michael Jordan or Iverson or Durant or whoever as quote unquote scorers. So like in some way I agree with you, because I think that would the guys that I think are actually better players would probably benefit from it being talked about that way. But in the NBA, in terms of the conversation year in and year out, it seems easier to say the scoring title is coming down to James Harden at 30 points a game versus, whoever at 29, as opposed to, oh, we've got 4,517 points for this guy. And it just seems like it's an easier method to track and easier method to discuss year in and year out who is quote unquote the league's leading scorer. I don't necessarily know that it's right, but I think it's just digestible for the fans, for discussion, for when you see a box score on SportsCenter at the end of the game and it's, oh, this guy went for 30, this guy went for 32, this guy went for whatever, and you can just say this player scores 30 points a game, as opposed to this guy scored X amount of points in this entire season. So I just think it's probably for that purpose and that purpose alone, even though I, in some ways, agree with, I think that they're correct in doing it that way for the reasons that it serves. But also, I think I agree with you in terms of the fact that we would probably regard players that deserve more accolades as scorers more if we were talking about totals.
Thanks for taking over, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Is there ever been a more bitch
perfectly
moment?
Timed, Andy. I mean, yeah.
Has there ever been a more bitch moment in my life
than letting your dog out? I would argue 30 or 40 that I know of. I mean, you just let your dog out, man.
Well, yeah, he had it, and he did. He had to shit. I just was like, no way he's gonna hold this for the next 90 minutes. He would never shit in the house, but
yeah, not a bitch move. Honestly, just your dog got to shit. It's all good.
Well, it's just so we got hit with like snow here, and he's such, how this is with the small dog.
Yeah,
like he can't like his paw. It gets stuck, and it's too cold. It's not like a bigger dog that can just walk through it. He loves the snow, and then it froze. We got like 8 inches, and then it was all, in the negatives temperature. So the poor guy is just like, even there, I gotta like get the snow off his fur, but whatever. Here we are. I'm sure you did a great explanation of how they do the NBA scoring title.
Yeah, I think I did.
And that's our NBA talk for the next 2 months.
Well, I was going to say, that's kind of the thing that sucks about there was something. It would have been nice if Christmas Eve fell on a Sunday, and Christmas Day was on a Monday.
I agree.
I didn't. It was nice to have Christmas Eve football, but it was annoying to have Christmas Day football and basketball. Basketball, we've talked about it. Christmas Day is the unofficial start of basketball season. And I remember there was a time before you essentially stopped watching baseball or basketball where we would have an NBA preview episode right around Christmas. It was the annual Dirty Sports. We get Chris Wilde on to make fun of you or whatever, and we would do Christmas talk. But yesterday, it still does, to me as a big NBA fan, it does feel like the unofficial start of the season, and it sucked to have to share that with football.
Well, and it's funny. I said that yesterday. I was like, look, I am obviously diehard NFL guy, but like, dude, at some point I need a break, guys. Like, I was kind of annoyed that Christmas fell on a Sunday, and then they were like, we're also going to take over Saturday. Because there's a point where I'm like, okay, I just want to watch Christmas shit, spend some quality time with people, some loved ones. It's like NFL. Like, the truth is,
You didn't watch a second of the NBA yesterday.
No, I didn't, but I also only watched a quarter of that Rams game.
Okay.
And I watched none of the Bucks game. I watched none of it. I was like, dude, I checked my phone occasionally to see the score, but it's like, guys, at some fucking point.
But you did watch Dolphins Packers. I
did watch Dolphins Packers.
I'd like to talk about that game and the Dolphins in general.
Yeah, let's go for it.
It's just come up. We both of us were really skeptical of Tua since he came into the league and critical of him, and just saying, and I think rightly so, what has he done? I think, both of us on this show, and I've seen it in the conversations on social media, you criticized for our takes that we just have, and what are they based in, and I'll say it. We'll obviously talk about the Vikings against my Giants, but like, I've been accused of being biased against Kirk Cousins. Like, I don't have any bias. Like, what do I give a fuck? I don't give a shit. He's not on my team. But like, both of us kind of skeptical of Tua, because it's like, there was a weird Tua contingent that loved and believed and said he was going to be an MVP and all that stuff. And it's like, based on what? Based on what had he done in the NFL, and coming in and at some point for a while getting outplayed by Ryan Fitzpatrick, and at some point being sort of incompetent to the level where they were in sort of a Jets situation where they had a defense and they still weren't doing anything because he just couldn't complete passes and he couldn't, move the ball downfield. And then this year he comes out, he has a great start to the season before obviously his brain injury. He comes back, he still plays well, but there is a moment in the season where he finally started. I mean, I was not getting into the point where I was about to say he was an elite quarterback by any means, but it was like, is he somebody that we can believe in as a competent? And if you remember that day on this podcast, I said, well, this is it. He goes and he plays the Niners in San Francisco. This is it. This is where you prove you're going against the best defense with the best pass rush with probably the defensive player of the year on the road. And I even said he doesn't have to necessarily win that game. He just has to go out and compete and be really good in that game and give them a chance. And since that day, they haven't won a game.
Yeah.
They haven't won a game since the day we said, here's his opportunity. Here's his chance to show us what he is. Because he's drawing me in. He's drawing me in. And now
Joe,
they haven't won a game since then.
I don't know if you remember this, but we both said this after the Bills game. And I think some people looked at us like, you guys are being assholes. But we both specifically said, your September game doesn't mean shit. It doesn't. Your early NFL September game doesn't mean anything. The games that really matter, dude, look right now at the teams that are clicking, right? The Bills have won 6 in a row. The Bengals have won 5 in a row. The Chiefs have won a bunch. The point is, the good teams are playing good football right now. And conversely, and we'll get to him in a minute. Conversely, you know who's won 3 in a row? The Packers and Aaron Rodgers. So, like, good quarterbacks win in December. And I know,
but also the other thing is, like you're saying about this, is there's people keep pointing to this game or this game or this game or this game. And it's really, the NFL isn't about one game. It's absolutely about being great now with consistency.
Correct.
But also, honestly, this is all to get you into the playoffs. Really, none of it matters. Like, really, just the playoffs matter. Like, it doesn't matter. You can lose your one game that you lose a season. If you're the Eagles, can be to the Colts or it can be to the Chiefs. It doesn't matter. 15-1 is 15-1, or 15-2, whatever the case may be. Like, it doesn't matter who you're beating in the regular season and who you're losing to. It just matters, are you the best team in your division? Are you the 1 seed? Are you the 2 seed? Are you getting a home game? Are you those things matter. You're who you beat and who you don't beat doesn't matter nearly as much as, are you getting a bye? Do you have a home field in the wild card round? Will you have home field in the divisional round? Will you have home field in a conference championship game? Because really all that matters there. This is levels. It's like a video game. Like, you're on the opening level right now, and then you start getting into level 2's a playoff game, level 2's 2 playoff games. And it's just, the bottom line is, right now I'm judging teams solely. There was a point in the year where we're judging teams on, will they make the playoffs? Won't they make the playoffs? We're now at the point of the year where we're judging teams on, can they really contend?
Sure.
Can they play in a Super Bowl game? Could they play in a conference championship game? Which at this point in the NFC, probably everybody can play in a conference championship game.
So we love talking quarterbacks on the show. It's by far our favorite topic concerning the NFL. And when we discuss that, we have obviously so many different discussions. We go in so many different ways. But I want to bring up something particular when it comes to talking quarterbacks, and something that I don't know if we've really discussed before. The way the NFL is played now, pretty quickly if he's going to be that guy. Agreed? Like now the league is moving so quickly, in the years past, it might take some years, right? Like, is this guy going to be our guy? By year 2.
I think pretty quickly if somebody's not going to be the guy. And I think you might need a couple years to determine if somebody's going to be your franchise QB, because so often great quarterbacks or highly touted quarterbacks get drafted to terrible teams.
For sure. But
Trevor Lawrence is the guy in Jacksonville, and he was so highly touted out of college that there wasn't really a point where everybody was off the bandwagon, but there was points during the last couple of years where he looked atrocious.
For sure. But again, Trevor Lawrence is in year 2. My point is, You should know. This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to draw a line in the sand right now. I think if you're a top 5 pick, you should know by year 3, like you said, you don't have to be performing at an insanely high level, but you should know by year 3 if you're that guy. But let's just go through guys drafted in the top 5 recently. You knew if Burrow, if Herbert, if Josh Allen, if Trevor Lawrence, you've known if they're that guy.
I mean, guess what? I would say you could argue Josh Allen's first couple years made you question if
you knew by year 3 though. Look at his numbers.
Yeah,
they made the playoffs. My point is, you knew by year 3 on Josh Allen. I'm bringing this up because we don't know on Tua, and that would make me extremely concerned if I'm a Dolphins fan. Here's my takeaway from yesterday's game and from his whole season. He puts up numbers when Tyreek Hill or Waddle make some insane yard after catch play. That's his numbers. He can't. You watch these other quarterbacks, but the other 3 in the AFC, the best 3, right? Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. Those guys can play the long game as far as they can play the deep pass, or they can play the dink and dunk. We're going to drive 80 yards. I am not convinced Tua can do that. Well, and he has a roster.
This is what the difference is between elite NFL quarterbacks and middle of the road NFL quarterbacks is T. Higgins they're probably not going to be able to sign everybody, right? But whoever that got, random receiver X that comes out of college and gets his spot on the roster is going to put up numbers. Tyreek Hill leaves. Guys come in. They put up numbers. Tua, what was he statistically before they got him elite receivers? And now, if you're paying Tyreek Hill that money and you're going to pay Waddle money to continue to carry a Tua, and then you go pay Tua, now what do you have? A team that probably can't field the defense, a team that probably has question marks on an offensive line. Like, you're talking about having to pay those elite players. And I'll just say it. Nice time. Everybody's still I deal with it every week. And the Kirk Cousins thing must be nice to have the best receiver in football on a rookie deal, saving errant throws, saving close your eyes and chuck Kirk Cousins. But what about when you got to pay him?
Yeah. I just think when you have 3 fourth quarter interceptions and the level, or I should say the type of interceptions where he's throwing it right to the guy, right? So it's like, and I tweeted this out. This is literally what my girlfriend said. And for the background, my girlfriend, like, she'll be there with me watching games. Bless her heart, she doesn't know shit about football. She just doesn't. Like she knows enough, but like, let me put it this way. She's more hung up on the facial hair and the hair. Does this make sense? Like, she's watching a game and she's hung up on those things, the tattoos. Like, oh, that's interesting. Like, she doesn't know football. She said this verbatim while the Dolphins game was on. Do you think Tua's brain injury caused him to be colorblind and he can't see who he's throwing it to? That's how bad those passes were yesterday.
Yeah.
But it also led us to the greatest post-game interview of all time. I'm going to say it. Jair Alexander's post-game interview with Pam Oliver, who sounded drunk for the record, gave us one of the best post-game interviews, which I tweeted from Dirty Sports. It's basically a Key and Peele sketch in real life. The audio is not going to do it as much justice as the visual, so check it out on Twitter or our Instagram. But this is what Alexander said. Again, he had one of the interceptions on Tua.
Walk us through that play. What happened and how'd you grab it?
Oh, man. That's
Can you hear it?
So I'm just lining up. I seen number 10 motion over. Hey, Jones. Huh? I seen number 10 coming across the field. I said, oh, snap, he fast. So I backed off. When I backed off, I seen him coming. He ran right in front of me. I was like, wow, is he really overthrowing it? Huh? Took it down the sideline, turned over my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
I love it. Merry Christmas to you. I don't even have more to say. That was fantastic.
If you celebrated Merry Christmas, go enjoy time with your family. We got to do it, baby. Packers back.
Amazing. All-time interview right there.
The first thing that came to my brain, like, he was halfway through it, and I was like, oh, he owes some money to the surfer guy who got interviewed on the news that had to hit the lip. Like, I was like, I've never seen something that felt like the NFL's version of that same energy.
I saw some people responding with that gif.
Just describing what happened. Went up, hit the lip, came back down, just get pitted. So pitted.
But you can tell in that interview, Alexander, again, he's like shocked. He's like, I saw the ball. Like, it was almost like, well, he's throwing it to me. He's overthrown it like that. Okay. So a couple questions. This is, I think, a great discussion. Dolphins, Packers. I'll start with each. Do the Dolphins make the playoffs?
No.
I agree. Do the Packers make the playoffs?
No.
They got to win both and get a little help.
I say no.
I say yes.
I think win both could happen, but they still need a little help because
they need a Washington loss.
And is that it? Would they get in over if they get into 9 wins? Do they get in over the Lions and over the Seahawks?
I believe so. I could be wrong.
So the Giants have a tiebreaker over the Commanders. The Giants also just need 1 win. The Giants with 9 wins are in because the Giants would be 9-7-1 and not 9-8.
Correct.
The Packers, Seahawks, and Lions already all have 8 losses.
Okay.
So they could
right
be
now
9. The 3 of them could be 9-8.
Right now, Seattle. Well, the Packers play the Lions.
Right. So they both can't be 9-8.
No. So right now, Seattle wins a tiebreak over Green Bay.
So if the Packers win out, they eliminate the Lions.
Correct.
So then they would essentially need help from Washington and Seattle.
Maybe. I'm not sure on the Seattle one.
The Packers currently have a tiebreak over Seattle or vice versa?
Right now, currently, the Seahawks are over the Packers. Wins tiebreak over Detroit based on head-to-head. So Seattle beat Detroit head-to-head. Division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate. See, I don't understand this. Then it says division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Green Bay. Detroit wins tiebreak over Green Bay based on head-to-head.
Right. But it doesn't matter overhead. It doesn't matter if the Packers beat the Lions down the stretch. It doesn't matter.
True.
The Lions will be out. 1 more loss for the Lions in Seattle, and they're out, essentially.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this much about the Packers. And Aaron Rodgers still didn't play like his best game yesterday or anything. I'll say this, though. People might think I'm crazy. We talk quarterbacks all the time on this show and the importance. You do not want Aaron Rodgers making the playoffs because here's why it's different. He seems to choke and play shitty when all the pressure's on him. There will be 0 pressure if they get a 7 seed and they have to play a Vikings or a Niners team.
Okay, but so hear me out here. And I'm just going to say this, and I know fucking Vikings lunatics are going to continue to lose their fucking mind. But if the Packers beat the Vikings, which they need to do to get in,
Correct.
Packers need to win both their games. If the Packers
both at home, by the way, both in
right.
Lambeau.
If the Packers beat the Vikings, which they need to do, they need to win both games. It leaves the door open for the Niners to slide into the 2 spot.
Correct.
Which for me would be glorious. If the Giants get into the playoffs and are 6 seed and get another shot at a 3 seed Vikings because the Packers beat them to get in, great. Because here's the thing. I love our chances. Obviously, look what happened, a 61-yard field goal for the win. I love our chances against the Vikings. The New York Giants will get butt-fucked by the 49ers. They will get absolutely butt-fucked. Their defense is too good. Their pass rush is too good. The Giants' offense line is not good enough. They won't be able to run the ball the way they would need to be effective. I like the Giants' chances to win a game in Minnesota against the team they just played, and I hate their chances against the Niners. That being said, I feel the same way about the Packers. If the Packers get in, they have to beat the Vikings, but beating the Vikings would probably mean the Vikings falling to 3, and then the Packers getting in as a 7 seed and having to play the Niners, they'll get murdered. Meanwhile, if the Packers could somehow play the Vikings, they'll win the game.
I don't agree there. I don't think here's the thing. Maybe I'm still drinking the Aaron Rodgers Kool-Aid too much. This is what I think. If the Packers get in as a 7 and have to play San Francisco, suddenly you have Brock Purdy's first playoff game. There's going to be pressure there at home. Aaron Rodgers, again, he's got nothing to lose. If the Packers get boat raced, whatever, everybody's going to say, we saw that coming. I just think everybody tightens up in the playoffs, right? Aaron Rodgers himself does because they have all those good records and they're playing in Lambeau. I just don't think there's pressure. I know they have a good defense. I don't know, man.
I don't like any of the 6-7 seeds potential 6-7 seeds chances against the Niners, but I love every potential 6-7 seeds chances against the Vikings.
I gotcha.
Vikings is, where's 12 and G? Put some respect on our name. The chances of kicking a 61-yard field goal in the same season where you recover a fumble in your own end zone with 3 seconds left in the game is 1 in 46 billion. But that's why we're the team of destiny.
I don't think deep down Vikings fans really believe they have a chance.
They
to
do, Andy. They do. I fucking
Who?
seen it. I live
Who?
it. I see it. Look at my mentions. Look at my mentions. They believe it. They believe in Kirk Cousins. They truly believe it. They believe they're good. They believe this is their Super Bowl season. They believe they're a team of destiny. Instead of looking at needing miracles, instead of looking at the fact that they needed literal miracles to beat a Giants team, to beat a Colts team, to beat a Bills team, instead of looking at the chances of 3 miracles happening in a season, they're looking at the miracles keep happening to us because we are a team of destiny. Kirk Cousins' father has blessed us at his super church. We are the chosen team. And all I can say, as a guy who watched a game on the road in Minnesota with multiple huge drops for the Giants, is today, sign me up for going back to Minnesota. Give me a Dory Jackson back off the injury. Give me Xavier McKinney and give me another shot at this Vikings team, where hopefully our defensive coordinator will say, oh, not only does Kirk Cousins continue to suck against the blitz the way he's sucked against the blitz from the day he came into the NFL, but when he sucks against the blitz, he just chucks it to the single greatest receiver in football. So let's just strategize that if we're going to blitz, we're also going to take away his first and only read. The fraudulent Vikings.
Yeah, I think this is 11-0 Steelers a couple of years ago for sure. You know who I would not want to play in the playoffs?
Who's that?
The Jags.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really starting to buy in to the Jags because they're going to win that division, I think. The Titans just, dude, you're losing. I understand there was weather and, the game had to start late because this half the country just got destroyed by, like, dude, you can't lose at home to the Texans. You just can't. You can't. Their final game is against Jacksonville. I think the Jags win. And here's the thing. The Jags would get a 4 seed.
Right.
I wouldn't want to play them if I was anybody. And in fact, if it ended today and the Jags played Baltimore, I'd take the Jags straight up at home. I don't know, man. This year is crazy. I feel like something wild is going to happen in the playoffs that we didn't see.
Well, I feel like here's my prediction for the playoffs. I feel like anything wild that happens in the AFC is going to happen early. And I'm not saying that there's not a chance a Chiefs or a Bengals or a Bills team can get upset. But I'm saying, and this isn't some major leap, I think it's the Chiefs, the Bills, or the Bengals that represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Obviously not a big leap, but I think what we're in for is some sort of, you remember it from our childhood. We went through many years where teams, we go through a whole playoffs, and really the Super Bowl happened the week before. Niners, Cowboys, or whoever, Niners, Giants, and then whichever team gets in just absolutely kicks the shit out of the other team. Like, I think we're looking at a year.
AFC,
I think we're looking at a year where a 2-week break between Super Bowl. We're getting an old school 38-14. Game was over. We're in for the commercials Super Bowl this year.
I got you.
Unless, of course, and obviously there's a chance that this could happen, unless, of course, the Niners sneak in with that defense, in which case, it probably doesn't get out of hand. But I still think we're looking at probably a old school 90s Super Bowl. And this time it's one of those teams from the AFC gets in, and I think they probably have a walking victory on Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, this week's game that we'll be at, talk about huge implications. So Bengals, Bills, Monday Night Football. If the Bills win, they keep that number 1 seed for the time being. If the Bengals win, they jump the Bills to get that number 2 seed. So a lot is on the line and keeps their hopes of a number 1 seed alive.
Yeah, huge implications.
Just huge. And if the Bengals lose, conversely, their final game against the Ravens will be for the division.
Provided that the Ravens don't lose another game.
I'm so glad the NFL flexed Pittsburgh and the Ravens. I'm so excited for that 10-9 Sunday Night Football game that we're going to have next week. Come on. There couldn't have been a better game than that. What are you doing, NFL? We got to talk about this Chiefs super fan who robbed the bank.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people DM me about this, and I saw this, and I forgot to mention it. Have you heard about this story?
I've heard about it. I don't know all the details. I'll tell you what I do know. Chiefs super fan, very active in Chiefs conversations, social media, message boards, etc. Goes missing. They don't know why. Turns out he robbed a bank. Was he arrested while robbing the bank?
Dude, here's the best part. So he robbed the bank in the same outfit that he wears to the Chiefs games.
Right.
So he dresses as a wolf.
Why?
I don't know. He wears a wolf costume at the games, like a full wolf costume with the Chiefs hat over it and a Chiefs shirt and Chiefs shorts. His name is Xavier or Xavier. I don't know how it's pronounced. Babudar, Babudar. He's more known for his social media handle, Chiefsaholic. So we see this with the NFL. They get like wild super fans, like to the point, like the Chiefs were doing stuff with this guy, right? A lot of these teams are smart and they cling on to like, This is super fan. Let's promote this. People eat this shit up. So this guy went MIA and he's like at most of the games, or at least he's tweeting about them, and he wasn't tweeting because he was arrested on December 16th and booked in Tulsa. Here's the best part. On his way to the Chiefs-Texans game, he robbed the bank. This is something movie.
In his famous Chiefs fan outfit. Well, like what was that plan?
Not in the Chiefs outfit, but the wolf outfit.
Right.
This guy is fucked. His bond was set at $200,000. And he did it, in Tulsa. He was charged with armed robbery at the Tulsa Teachers Credit Union. And they got him.
I mean, of all the places to rob, the Teachers Credit Union, is there anybody more prepared for a guy walking in with a gun than a teacher? He should have robbed the fucking police officers' credit union. They don't do shit about people with fucking guns. Teachers, they're the ones that got to fucking do some shit.
Well, they got him, man. They got him. And the best part is last month on Twitter, he said, I make a good living. Plus, I hustle in private. House money I'm playing with, to be honest.
That's a very Jameis one of one sounding tweet reply, right?
Oh, wait, he wasn't wearing a mask? No. The cops confirmed he wasn't wearing costume style. I thought he was. This ruins the story.
No, and I had heard that they found him out through like a ankle tattoo or something like that because he's always wearing fucking shorts.
So he has an Andy Reid ankle tattoo.
It's fucking hilarious.
Like a doodle. You know the doodle things? It's like a small little doodle. So the rumor is that he's been maybe robbing a bunch of banks. Oh, whoa. That he's been robbing a bunch of banks. This is wild. This will make a great movie. Who's going to play him? That's hilarious. I'm not buying the Chiefs this year. I'm just not.
You're not buying the Chiefs this year.
No. I'm not. I think it's going to be Bills or Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Well, let's look at it right now. I mean, obviously a lot's going to change, but it almost likely, right, that we get a 1-2-3 beat Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, right?
Most likely.
One of those two teams has to lose this week. If the situation is this, if you get a Jacksonville win, like you would currently be betting on against, let's say, a 5 seed Baltimore, right? I don't think either of us like the Chargers or Miami's chances against really Chiefs, Buffalo, Cincinnati. I think I did predict like a Chargers like upset, but like in Arrowhead, it's not happening. So you're looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4 Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Jacksonville round 2. I really think it's the team that just like doesn't have to play both of them. Like I think
which would be the 1 seed.
Right. So if the 1 seed if the Chiefs end up with the 1 seed, they get to play Jacksonville, and then you get to be at home in Arrowhead against a Buffalo or Cincinnati team that's coming off of what I can only imagine would be potentially a second game in 3 weeks and blah 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 blah. It just seems like that's to me what gives I believe in them just as much as I believe in anybody else who gets the 1 seed.
Yeah. It is crazy. Like we have a 3-headed monster. Like legit.
Like even the same thing. If let's say it was, let's say the Chiefs are the 2 seed, and they've got the chance, like we've already seen, let's say the Chiefs are the 2 seed and the Bengals are the 3 seed. We've already seen the Bengals go into Arrowhead and win. But let's say the Chiefs managed to beat a Bengals team in Arrowhead. It's just the kind of game that's like, man, I don't really love them going to Buffalo after that.
Yeah.
That's the thing about those 3 teams. It's like one of them's the 1 seed's probably going to be able to avoid, the other 2.
Sure.
And just have to play 1.
Well, I'd say like I don't know off the top of my head the Bills' best complete game of the year, like against a good team. The Bengals' best complete game by far was the Kansas City game. Like that game I was like the Bengals played great on both sides of the ball. I don't know Kansas City's best all around game because we're seeing it this year, right? Like no lead. The Bengals had blew a 22-point lead in arguably a game they should have lost to New England.
Yeah,
because the NFL it's wonky like that. It's crazy like that. Like no lead. The modern NFL, no lead is safe, which to me makes it so much more entertaining. Because why? Like here's what I want to say about that, about no lead being safe. When are coaches going to adjust and stop? Dude, running the ball in timeouts to me that's not a thing anymore, man. I just don't think it is, Joe. I think you got to get a first down or 2.
Right. And honestly, and we talked about it last week, the call about what the Giants do with the contracts of Jones and Saquon and whatever, but like that's, there's a couple guys in the league, Saquon Barkley, for example, where it's like if you have a lead, you can kind of trust like, oh, let's feed this guy the ball and we'll take our chances, run the clock out or swing pass it out to him and whatever. But for the most part, I agree with you, which is like, if you don't have that kind of guy, if you don't have that kind of back where you can get him the ball in different ways, you need to throw some screens, or you need to throw some easy completions, or you need whatever, because it's stupid to try to just say, hey, we're going to run the ball. Some of those short screens or even slants or whatever, it's like they're almost never incomplete. It's really not a matter of you like, oh, the ball was knocked down and now the clock stops. It's like just it gives you so much more versatility in getting first downs and moving the ball along if you're not just lining up and running it off tackle.
But not even just the clock. To me, 30 seconds, right? How many times are you going to see this? If you give a team 30 seconds with no timeouts and you tell them they got to get 40 yards, how many times are we going to see that? Like, it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
They get 1 15 to 20 yard pass, and suddenly I just think it blows my mind, all these games, and you see these coaches get so conservative. And I always think in my head, dude, you got to pass the ball. What's the difference between them getting, to me, there is no difference. Maybe I'm crazy to say this. There's no difference between a team getting the ball with like 30 seconds or 50 seconds. Like, I just don't see that much of a difference when these teams can just move the ball down the field. And also, these kickers have legs, man. Like,
look who you're telling.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, and I know that's a little different because that's in a dome, right? So it's a controlled environment. But even outside, like, these guys can mostly all of them can make consistently almost up to 55 yards. So, the argument of playing conservative, I just don't see it anymore.
I mean, I think you're a great example of it, Andy. No lead safe in this league. I've now pulled even with you in our pick'em.
Yeah, so I have to.
You tried to go into hold the ball mode.
I didn't. See, I should have. I should have done
4-minute offense. Yeah,
I should have done that.
4-minute offense. Just play it safe.
I don't mind losing to you on certain games, but like this week.
Shout out to all the dirtballs who DM'd me because I told them to go back and listen to me put you into the Jets crate during that pick.
The Bucks, Jets, and Broncos picks by me. And there's our difference right there in the league.
The Broncos got absolutely fucking smacked, but there's, besides the fact that I was just like, I need to pick different than Andy right now. And so fuck it. Why not ride or die? Let's ride on not riding with Russell Wilson. But I don't think anybody saw a 50 point blowout loss. The Bucks, to me, the Bucks have scored, the fact that it was on the road was just that simple. The Bucks have scored 20 points. That is their highest point total on the road this year. They scored 20 points on the road.
I guess in my head,
that's their biggest.
In my head, I was like, okay, to be honest, this is what I thought in my head. And I didn't know that stat. That's a great stat. I wish I would have known that before. In my head, I was thinking, you're playing Trace McSorley. In my head, I thought the Cardinals get 10 points. And I wasn't that far off. They got 16. Yeah. In my head, I'm thinking they get 1 touchdown and 1 field goal, and the Bucks can muster 20 points. That's what I thought. I thought it would be like a 20-10 game.
I just thought 7.5 too big for a team that can't score more than 20 points on the road.
And here we are.
And also I would have bet $1 million on the Bucks winning that game outright.
Well, here we are. The Bucks going to make the playoffs. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I want to look at the prize picks play for tonight. We got Monday Night Football. Dirtballs, if you have not signed up yet, hop on, download the Prize Pick app and play daily fantasy sports with us. Again, make sure you use promo code DIRTY when you sign up. I'm on a little winning streak right now. I'm going to have to post a lock pick tonight. All first-time users that deposit and use promo code DIRTY will receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. Let's see who we got tonight over at Prize Picks. Ooh, I don't like the quarterbacks. I don't like Justin Herbert, 280.5. I wouldn't touch that. Not off the top of my head, I wouldn't touch that. You know what I like? I like going with the running backs on the receiving yards. Austin Eckler, 34.5. That's an interesting play. right? Because he's one of those guys who can just have like one long screen for 2025, and that makes it a lot easier. We got these are some interesting plays. Oh, you know what I like? I like the kickers. This is what I like. Both kickers are at 1.5 field goals made.
Yeah. More than.
More. I was just gonna say, I do more than on both. I think we get 2 field goals at least from both kickers. I think that I'm telling you, when you guys are on Prize Picks, this is one of the plays no one looks at, and I've won multiple times on this. Because normally they put the kickers at 1.5. Do more than on tonight's game. I do have a bone to pick with you, Joe.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I got a bone to pick with you.
I don't even know where this is going to go.
You're not going to see it coming.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's about your Christmas Eve tweet.
Okay.
So you tweeted.
Are you a Christmas Eve family?
Hold on. I want to read what you tweeted first. You tweeted on Christmas Eve, families who open presents on Christmas Eve are insane. Imagine if some people were like, in quotes, we eat our Thanksgiving turkey on Wednesday, and insisted they were normal.
Correct.
That's a wild take, in my opinion. Let's discuss.
Well, first of all, there's 2 different things. If you're like, hey, I do my Christmas with my family, this is our Christmas day, but on Christmas Eve, we go to our grandparents or whatever.
That's what I want to discuss.
You open some gifts there or whatever. I'm talking about, there are families who open their gifts. There are families who do. Santa has come. Let's all sit around the tree and open our Christmas presents on Christmas Eve.
But see, that's not clarified in the tweet. So here's what I want to say. We obviously growing up always did Christmas Day. I have 4 brothers, big family.
Great. Congratulations. You're normal.
Once everybody got
insane.
Everybody got old enough and we knew Santa wasn't a thing. Spoiler alert for anybody out there who believes in Santa. We might have young dirtballs. Imagine if there's like some 10-year-old dirtballs like, what? Santa doesn't exist? Sorry, a fat guy does not climb down a chimney.
Can you imagine if there's a guy who's like, and he's a cuck. He likes all different things. Russell Wilson's a fraudulent piece of fucking trash. Santa's not real.
So like my family, once we got to that point, because we used to always go out to the farm where my mom grew up. And then when my grandmother passed, then everybody started coming to my parents. So like Christmas Day, her side came. So my mom started doing, hey, we're going to open our presents on Christmas Eve. And then that continued.
Also listen, Andy, you know, you have 4 brothers. If you guys all got together on Christmas Eve and your brother gave you your gifts and you gave your brother your gifts because on Christmas Day, they're going to
their own
wife's family's house and what. But I'm talking about the kids at Christmas and the Christmas.
I got you.
Morning, Christmas.
So you're talking
all the gifts. The gifts.
Okay.
Everybody sits around. There's a big garbage bag for all the paper.
I got
the whole thing. We're doing Christmas.
If you
do that on Christmas Eve, you're insane. And the
okay.
And now, here's the reason.
I get it.
The reason that you're insane. The reason that you're insane is because the whole world's telling you you're insane, and you're like, no, that's the way to do it. It would be like.
I agree.
Again, my tweet is, imagine some guy coming in. He's like, no, we do all the stuff and we do all the thing. We do it Wednesday. And you'd be like, what are you talking about? The whole world does it Thursday. There's a parade. There's football games. We're not weird. You're weird. And they're like, no. Wednesday. Some people do Wednesday. It's like, no, you're insane.
I gotcha. No, okay, that makes sense.
There's thousands of years of Christmas lore. Santa's not coming to some houses in the afternoon on Christmas Eve. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
Stop. Don't be the family that opens shit on Christmas Eve.
Well, I never even would have thought that. That's why I was confused. I was like, this tweet, I'm like, people are saying, like, people are telling their kids, hey, Santa came.
There are some people who open their gifts in mass on Christmas Eve.
I gotcha. With their own individual family. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm like, because when you have a lot of families involved, it's like, Oh man. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, man. That's that like I would assume that's part of the fun, especially as parents, of the kids are in bed and they wake up Christmas morning. There's nothing, I'm sure it's exhausting, but there's got to be nothing like that. Was it you who said A Christmas Story is not like your top 10?
Oh yeah, it's not. I watched A Christmas Story like all the way through like twice in my life. Don't need to see it. Never need to see it again.
Wow.
I can honestly get angry at clips of it. With there's the Zach Braff T-Mobile commercial where he's licking the pole. I'm like, really? We're doing this? Enough. Somebody asked me my top 5 Christmas movies the other day.
Die Hard, Die Hard, Die Hard, Die Hard.
No, I said Scrooged, The Ref, Elf. What else was on my list? Christmas Vacation. And what was my 5th spot? Home Alone.
No, It's a Wonderful Life.
No. Top five in terms of rewatchability, in terms of things I turn on every year. Scrooge is my number 1. The Ref's my number 2. I'd say Home Alone 3, Christmas Vacation 4, L5.
Home Alone 3?
Home Alone is my number 3 movie.
No, It's a Wonderful Life. I watched that last night.
I'm just saying it's. I don't. I
have to admit, I have a lot of questions now. Like, I've watched it the last 2 years. George Bailey is the worst. I mean, I'm not saying I'm on Potter's side. Hear me out. George Bailey is the worst. He really is the worst businessman of all time. So people are getting houses. You're doing all this work. Like, there's a lot of work when you have to get a home loan, and it's a thorough, people know, like, it's a thorough process. He's not making any money off this. You're building entire subdivisions, making dude, you're the worst businessman of all time. Like, I understand, like, all these companies are, and in fact, I'm gonna take it one step further. And I'm sure my girlfriend didn't like hearing this because she kept being like, what are you talking about? We're watching it last night, and I'm like, this is why the financial crisis happened. They were giving loans to people who should not have gotten loans. Like, George Bailey thinks, like, I understand those were big banks doing it that should not have been giving them to people. But, like, that's kind of what he's doing. He's like, hey, you can't afford this house.
George Bailey is the Broncos GM. George Bailey is absolutely doing the Russ deal.
I like that. It's a great title for an episode, too.
Yeah, give them all the draft picks. Why not? $50 million. We'll extend him.
And then
I'll give him more draft picks. Who cares?
Potter offers him $20,000 a year. Let me remind people who haven't seen it in a while. He offers him $20,000 a year after he had just told him he makes $45 a week. So Potter's offering him 10 times his salary. Think, Joe, if you could make 10 times what you make, like, that's a lot of money. And he's like, no, I can't do it. I don't know why I made it
a 30s gangster. Take your offer somewhere else, see?
Yeah, see, I'm not taking it. Oh, come on, Potter. I can't do that. No, I mean, little Adam Sandler. Stop looking at me, Swan. Stop looking at me, Potter.
Yeah, I was thinking about you, Teal, but then
I'm not gonna take it. I'm just saying, like, it's a good movie, but I am questioning.
So is it in your top 5?
I don't know anymore, dude. I like it.
It's not in your top 5, dude. It's not in your top 5.
I'm just questioning George Bailey's.
Top 5 Christmas movies don't include Die Hard for the sake of this podcast and me flipping out and flipping this table.
But see, I like Christmas. Christmas Story is by far my top 5.
Oh, that's fine. If you're allowed to have it, your top 5.
You know, I know I like It's a Wonderful Life, but also he's not to just destroy.
Is Home Alone in your top 5?
I don't know. I have to rewatch it. I have to rewatch.
You have to rewatch Home Alone, but you know Christmas Stories in your top 5. Who are you?
I watch Christmas Story every year.
You should watch Home Alone every year.
You probably watch Christmas Vacation every year. I'd have to rewatch Home Alone.
Christmas Vacation's in your top 5.
Yeah, for sure. One more thing about George Bailey, also about his questionable decision making. And I hate to just rate the guy over the coals, but come on, making sus decisions. He's given money, like the actress, or I don't know her name, the actress who plays Violet, who's kind of like the town floozy. He's giving her side money. I'm just saying, like, you're giving, it's not a good look, man. You're giving side money to a girl that is not even like your side piece. And your family's not exactly doing the best, but you're giving cash to Violet. Not a good look, bro. Like George Bailey, everyone says he's the great guy. He might be, but he's the worst decision maker when it comes to anything with any logical common sense. Therefore, George Bailey, episode 896, is the Broncos GM. Would that be John Elway?
No, John Elway's gone. He's not making football decisions anymore.
He's done.
Yeah.
Let's hop into a couple calls. I think these are mostly non-sports related.
Great.
We'll start with our buddy McKay down from Houston, who took us to the Astros game.
Hey, Dirty Sports. This is McKay from Houston, Texas. I've been listening to a lot of prank phone calls, and I was just wondering, you can't really do that nowadays. And there's not a lot of comedians that would, try and do it just because we have caller IDs and everything. Like Jim Florenstein, he's pretty funny doing prank phone calls. But I was just wondering if you guys ever done any funny prank phone calls, or do you think that type of comedy could still exist today? Have a great holidays and a happy new year, and stay dirty. Bye.
I mean, are we doing this again?
First of all, that comedy can still exist today. Second of all,
Yeah.
you can still do prank phone calls. There's ways to mask your number. There's also just people will just answer their phones. Now they might call you back or whatever. I think people are less likely to answer like no caller ID these days. Oh man. But when you talk about prank phone calls, I mean, John and Mikey and myself, the prank phone, there's one specific guy that we would prank repeatedly, and I'm not even going to tell that story. That's going to have to be, you'll get it in person, because the guy may or may not have honestly killed himself over some of the things John was telling him to do on the guys that he was his doctor. He was telling him to, drink bleach for his cough and stuff like that. Anyway, that guy, Monroe Jackson, also claimed to have known who we were, and therefore he was like, I know who you are. You're the Puerto Ricans across the way. And then when we called him the next week, he's like, wait, I already shot you. And we were like, oh God. So there's a deep file with Monroe. John called him every day for a year and a half, every single day. But some of my favorite pranks, my favorite two pranks, and these are horrible. These were two go-tos that me and my brothers would do. One, you call somebody up and you go, and right when they answer, you just go, Mom, and then they tell you basically their son's name. You just go, Mom, and then your mom would have been like, Andy, are you okay? You're like, nah, Mom, I'm fucked up. Took a whole bunch of drugs. I'm stuck. I'm on the corner of 125th Street and Broadway in Harlem. I need you guys to come get me. And this would be before there was like cell phones or whatever. So they would just be like, stay where you are. We are coming right now. And you send these parents out into the night in search of their child who's probably at their friend's house or something like that.
Unreal.
And then the other one, this is horrible. John used to call people and go, I think I hit your dog. And they'd be like, what? He'd be like, I think I hit your dog. And they'd be like, oh my God, what? He's like, yeah, I'm calling the number from the caller. And they'd be like, is it a golden retriever? John would always be like, I don't know. I got scared and I kicked it down a sewer drain. And people would.
What? That was his line?
Yeah.
Kicked it down a sewer drain?
one lady fucking lost it. One lady was like, oh, like whatever her dog's name was, oh, Fido, like fell to her knees, like the end of fucking Shawshank Redemption, and was like, Fido. And then all of a sudden you could hear the fucking collar, ting, 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 and started like the dog came because it heard its name. Started like, she's like, oh, Fido, you're live. What are you doing? But John would call people all the time and go, I think I hit your dog. Or is it a poodle? You're like, I don't know. It's real bad. It's kind of a bloody pile of hair.
So we used to prank call during sleepovers in grade school. Like that was a big thing, is we'd prank call. But we'd get out our school directory. And like Joe's saying, you guys remember, this is way before cell phones. This is prank calling the house. We weren't as savage as you guys. We'd prank call kids in our class. We'd prank call kids we knew. And the go-to, which is kind of fucked up, like it's not the worst, but it's still kind of funny, was that we would pose as other kids in the class and we'd be inviting them over for a sleepover the next night. That was a stupid go-to. You'd be like, hey, Brian, it's Jim. Hey, how you doing? You know, like, hey man, what are you doing tomorrow night? My mom's she's gonna order pizza. Bring your sleeping bag. So for some reason, we thought that was so funny. Somebody showing up to somebody else's house ready for a sleepover and them knocking, like, "What are you doing here?" But my buddy,
we did a very similar version, but obviously with a little more Prano stat. But we would call people from the directory. We would be in high school. We'd leave like a high school party, and we'd know who was still at the party. And we would look them up in the directory and we'd call their house and their parents would answer. And before they could say anything, we'd be like, Brian, you motherfucker, you leave me at a high school party with a bag of Coke and a girlfriend you got pregnant, you piece of, what am I supposed to do in this situation? And they'd be like, this isn't Brian. This is Brian's dad. And we'd be like, wrong number. We'd hang up.
So my one buddy, I remember, and this is pretty messed up, but I don't care. I have to tell it. So by where I lived, a street up, like 2 streets off of my parents' street. And look, again, guys, before I say this, like this is the 90s, things were different. And like, I'm not justifying, but like, it is what it is. There was this gay dude who lived on Bernie Lane, this house that had an indoor pool. And he was gay.
You're about to admit to a hate crime.
No, it's not a hate crime.
Okay,
it's just it's just messing with somebody. So we knew he was gay. So my buddy would call him. I'm not gonna say his last name. His first name was Bruce. And my buddy would do the most classic, like effeminate,
cancel.
Yeah, like I was gonna say the voice he do now would just be canceled. It'd be like a stereotypical gay guy. And my buddy would call him and he'd be like, Bruce, how are you? And here's the thing, the guy would never hang up ever. And he's probably in his 30s. He'd be like, who is this? And he'd be like, it's Brian. I met you and he'd pick out some gay bar from Cincinnati and he'd be like, I met you there this Saturday. And he'd be like, how'd you get my number? And he'd be like, you gave it to me. And here's the thing, this guy, one time, I'm not lying, he was on the phone with this guy for like 30 minutes. He kept being like, how'd you? And I remember thinking like, dude, why are you not just hanging up? And he'd always call this Bruce guy. Every time you'd be like, how is he thinking this happened? Like, did he get loaded at this gay bar every Saturday? And he'd always mess with him. And this guy would always fall for it every single time. And like I said, he'd do the most effeminate, like stereotypical offensive gay voice. And this guy would always fall for it.
Bruce.
Fucking Bruce.
They're not saying boo. They're saying Bruce. We also had a double line phone system. So we would call people and pair them and then mute ourselves out. And it would seem like they were calling each other. And I think I've told this on this show too.
Yeah.
We would call like Chinese restaurants, 2 different Chinese restaurants, and they'd think they were placing the order. And then it was wild. But we also, and I think I've told this story on the show. This is the craziest prank situation ever. So we had a friend. I won't name his name because I don't know the statute of limitations on this. He was a little older than us, but he was a He was very like computer savvy. When the internet first became a thing, he would set up home networks. So you remember how you would have to connect all your computers like thing. So we went over to Chevy Chase's house, who lived in our hometown, and he set up his home network. And when he was there, he downloaded Chevy Chase's digital Rolodex onto a disc, and he brought it home. And I swear to God, we literally had Chevy Chase's digital Rolodex. And I mean, think of all the people that were in it. Like, I mean, insane. Lauren, everybody who's ever been on SNL, musical guest, whatever, like insane. So we would call 2 people from SNL and then mute ourselves out and have them like talking to each other. One time we called, it was Sting and Dan Aykroyd.
Shut up.
I swear to God.
Shut up.
I swear to God, Dan Aykroyd had like Sting's wife Sting's wife had Dan Aykroyd on the phone. It was like, we've been trying to get in touch with you guys about this charity thing. Are you guys coming or not? And then Dan Aykroyd was like, I'll have to talk to the wife when she gets back. I don't know the plan. I gotta go. We would pair Steve Martin. It's funny, Steve Martin and Martin Short now doing Only Murs in the Building. We had them on the phone together. What was funny is Bill Murray. There's a famous thing that Bill Murray doesn't have. If you want to get in touch with Bill Murray, it's a voicemail. And at the time, I didn't know, like, this wasn't popular or like lore or whatever, but you would call Bill Murray and you would just get a weird voicemail box.
Shut up.
So many famous people, and we would pair them together and just listen.
You should have led with that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's wild. All right, let's get to another call. Once again, the hotline's 310-359.
So many like the amount of famous people we got.
Oh, he cut right out then. You got who? You there?
No, you're good. Yeah, I'm good.
You said it cut out. You said we.
I think we just got everybody.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Let's do a call. A question from me, inspired by the 2 fridges.
Yeah, boys. Long time DirtBall here. Been around since the original 2 fridges story was told. Just listening to the podcast back about you guys referencing it. Got me thinking, Andy, and I guess Joe could throw some input on this question. Have you had more or less girls that you've ever slept with over a 6 on the 10 scale or under a 6 on the 10 scale? More over or more under? So that's my first question. The other thing is you guys have the 1000th episode coming up. Any ideas for what you guys want to do? Just throwing this out there. Maybe a little he who shall not be named surprise phone call, possibly even a Ethan phone call. Maybe just address him as Ethan only and see if he gets irritated by it. Just throwing some influential old DirtBall highlights out there. See what you guys might be thinking, or what are you thinking? If not, all right, stay dirty.
Wow, it's getting. This one's gonna make me think. So, girls I've slept with, are we saying more or less on a 6 out of a 10? That's probably here's what I'll say. This number 6 is probably around the median, I would say, for me. Like,
you're saying if he'd asked a 5, you'd be like over, and if he'd asked a 7, you'd be like under. But it might be a good 6, might be the perfect balance.
Yeah. I mean, look. Here's the thing when it comes to that stuff. Like, everyone has different taste, right?
Right. But in your opinion,
I'd definitely say over. I mean, I've made some reckless decisions. Now, look, if you guys want me to be fully honest now, I'm going to take a lot of crap for this. I don't care. I've always said you go for the 6s and 7s. Like, if you're trying to pick a girl up at a bar, go for the 6s and 7s if you're just trying to get laid. That's always been my approach. because it's usually easier to happen. If that's your goal, if we're trying to meet,
tell me if this is a correct theory for Andy Ruther. I feel like if he asked for girls that you had sex with on more than one night, you'd be like way over 6.
Correct.
I feel like your balance here is
one-nighters.
One-nighters. You went home with some less than favorable.
Oh yeah,
you made some less than favorable decisions.
No denying that. That's a good point.
Didn't you have a homeless girl at your place at one point?
I think she was. I think she might have been homeless. I'm taking tons of shit at home tonight.
2 fridges, homeless.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
I made some.
Let me ask you a question. More or less 6s? No. Let's do more or less if the number's 5 instead of 6. More or less, just one night stands alone.
I still think it's more 6s. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd have to go through. I don't know. You forget a lot of things. I don't know. Yeah, I still would like to say more. I mean, I don't know. It's funny. Like, I think about things sometimes and I'm just like, what the hell? Like, people don't know, people don't like have any perspective who are relatively new to me how I was. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had dinner with my girlfriend's 2 brothers and sister-in-law last week, like a nice little like Christmas dinner on like Tuesday. We went to like a nice restaurant. And like, it's funny, like they have no concept. It's so funny. Like, they always forget I don't drink, and it's not a big deal. They're just like, oh, we forgot. And like, my girlfriend Brittany was like, yeah, like, you guys don't really know. And then I just kind of laugh. And then like, they saw the picture of me after the denting. And then it's like, holy shit. Like the famous one of me.
Who hadn't seen that?
My girlfriend's brothers and her sister-in-law.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
My girlfriend made that a Christmas ornament last year to roast me. She's got a good sense of humor. She literally turned that into a Christmas ornament, my face, to make fun of me. So like, she gets it, but like, they saw that picture. And the funny thing is, her brother's younger. Her brother's 25. And the first thing he said was like, face, let's talk about this outfit. He's like, you're wearing dad socks and dad shoes. And you're at the, like, what? He's like, everything here is off. Like, what are you doing?
Well, that's where the conversation is. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and any given moment. I mean, there was one point where your girlfriend, there's a picture of you, Andy, where you were a 3. You got an eye patch on, and dad socks, like.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, when people don't, like, I'm not one to like, I'm not sitting here trying to hype up my wild days to, my girlfriend's brothers. It's not like they want to hear that stuff, because it's like, right. I just know they don't. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's like, they don't know how fucking nuts I could be, like back in the day. And
now you're sober wearing cat sweatshirts.
Now I'm sober wearing cat sweatshirts, taking a break mid-podcast to let a multi-poo out the backyard, and then wiping his paws off because they're covered in snow.
Yeah. For some people, you're 10, you're an adult. You got a house, you got a dog, you got to let outside in your Christmas sweater. And for some people, you're 2. The idea of you in a cat sweater and having you're taking your multi-poo out, they're like, this is disgusting.
I agree. 310-359-8365. That's the hotline.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, everybody. Seattle fans thought Russ was a 10. Broncos fans think he's a 2. I always thought he was more of like a 4.5.
I still think you can't play any worse next year, right?
No, but let me say this. This almost came up before. I cannot wait for the new coach postseason return. There's going to be so much return of Russ hype going into next year. Everybody's going to be like, but if Russ gets it right, I think we see the old Russ this year.
But let me ask this though. What if hypothetically he throws for 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions next year, they win 10 games?
What about it?
Like then where do we have Russ?
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are still in the division. The Chargers are still in the division. The Broncos aren't winning 10 games next year.
No, I know you can say, but what if? I'm just saying.
Also, 10 games is the new, 11 games is the new 10 game.
Okay, fair enough. But let me put it this way.
Here's the thing. Does anybody out there want to make a wager on whether or not Russ wins another playoff game in his career? Or if so, our hotline is what, Andy?
310-359-8365. I might do a small bet on that.
Yeah.
It'd be small because I don't have much faith in it. Like small, like $25. Just for shits and giggles, since he used to be my guy. But speaking of like guys who you like thought, oh, this is done for or whatever.
Probably finishing his career in Denver, right? Because who else is gonna go for him? And probably, do you think that there's a chance? And what would you say the chances are of the Broncos winning the division in the next for the rest of his career? I mean, you got to say that's a pretty low chance that they win the division, correct?
Under 5%.
So you're betting on Russ winning a road playoff game.
Correct.
Our hotline for those people who want it.
Yeah, I don't know if I want that bet because I'll be honest.
Or those people who want to bet Kirk Cousins appears in an NFC Championship game or Super Bowl.
I think if Russell Wilson has another bad year, he's going to retire. If he's smart. But look at Baker Mayfield, man. Like conversely. I mean, he played good yet. Like, here's the thing about Baker. He might be winning an opportunity to start somewhere next year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Jets.
Okay, then let's ask that question because he basically lost out to Sam Darnold. Do they make the playoffs with Baker Mayfield this year as their starter?
I think the Jets are making the playoffs if Mike White started the whole season.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. All right, guys, follow us on social.
I think the Jets still have a very good chance of making the playoffs, correct?
I think so. They'd have to win out. Yeah, they'd have to win out. It's complicated.
Yeah.
If the Chargers lose tonight, and I don't think they will. If the Chargers lose tonight, that thing gets really complicated.
Yeah.
Real fast. All right. Follow us on social at The Dirty Sports. I'm at Andy Ruther. Yo.
I'm at Joe Prano on all social media except for Twitter, where I'm still at Fix Your Life. Come see a show. I'll be in Cincinnati with Andy and Randy and Jedediah for Bills Bengals. And from there, I'm off to New York. Keep your eye on my social media or at joeprano.com/shows for New York dates that I will hopefully be adding soon. After that, I'm in Vegas at the Comedy Cellar, Vegas. After that, I'm at Dead Crow in Wilmington, North Carolina. After that, I'm at Sketchfest in San Francisco. So all those and more on my social media and my website.
Real quick, and I hope people didn't completely tune us out. Could Sean Payton fix Russell Wilson?
I'll just say this. Sean, I am of
because they said he's putting. I don't know if you saw this. He's putting a team. They said where he coaches, he wants like the defensive coordinator handpick. Like he wants a team.
Sean Payton does.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
I think Sean Payton is overrated.
Okay.
Could Sean Payton fix Russell Wilson? Sean Payton could make Russell Wilson better than he is, for sure. But I don't think Sean Payton. The bottom line to me.
Are you saying the Russell Wilson statistical days, the 10, 11 wins, 3,800 passing yards, 33 touchdowns are done?
Not necessarily, but what I think is, again, the statistics are nice, and the winning 10 games is nice and all that. But I just think Russell Wilson's career, in terms of I actually didn't think he had the potential, but people would argue that he did because he had done it before. But I think Russell Wilson's potential of leading a team deep into the NFL playoffs is gone. And the reason is, I think for the same reason we're in the situation that we are. I don't think Russell Wilson makes shitty receivers great. I don't think Russell Wilson is the guy who's going to sit back and be a game manager. And simply on the fact that he's getting paid $40 million or $50 million a year or whatever it is now. Like, you're not going to be able to build that kind of defense. What made Russell great is exactly what makes him not great now. He's expensive, and he's not an elite quarterback.
Yeah. Well, I'll be curious who they hire. Obviously, Sean Payton is the one everybody seems to want to go after. All right. That's our show. You guys enjoy this week. Hopefully you get to spend some time off with the fam. We'll be back on Thursday, and then you'll be coming in town. Huge game. All right, guys. Have a great week. See you soon. And as always,